What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Diablo Immortal video. We know that a new Paragon system is coming to the game very soon in this month's update. Not only do we have a new class, but systems are being reworked. Today I want to dive into why I feel this may need a rework. Plus, we have some information that was leaked regarding the Paragon system update. I want to take a look at that and determine whether this is actually something legit or just some smoke that's being blown. Take a look at the map right here, or I should say the calendar. As you can see, April through June, new Paragon system. So now we're not talking about just, a new tree or something like that. As you can see, we have a whole bunch of Paragon trees, which I believe may be part of the problem. Think of it like this. What do we have? 15 or so Paragon trees. The majority of the trees that I have are very full, almost completely full, minus maybe one slot. I have a lot sitting at 99. And the question is why? When you think about right here, the Inferno difficulties and the number of difficulties that we can go through. We start out on normal, then we get Hell 1 through Hell 6, and then, or 7, Hell 8, and then we have Inferno 1 all the way through Inferno 6, which a lot of people felt is just going to become Inferno 7 and Inferno 8, and then there'll be another difficulty coming. The problem is, it gets to be a lot of difficulty levels. Remember, we're just about 2 years into this game, and we already have, 15 difficulty levels and 15 Paragon trees at that. When you take a look at server Paragon levels, they're getting quite high. So for new players, they're gonna have to catch up to a 1,310 server Paragon level. That's a lot to grind, even with the catch-up mechanic inside of the game. Think about it. If you're a brand new player diving into the game and you jump in and see players with a 1,300 Paragon and you're at level 0 and you need to grind all the way there, will that deter players? Will it be too confusing for them to have to figure out a Paragon tree system from scratch when there's 15 different ones to choose from? If you recall, when we started, there was Vanquisher and Survivor. That was really it. Now, another thing that I think of that is kind of an issue with the system, and let me be honest, I don't hate the Paragon system as it is. We find the trees that we like, and we use those ones. We max them out and use them. Treasure Hunter, I am on most of the time, and then for PvP, I'll switch to Gladiator. Sometimes I will also go ahead and use Warden a little bit as well. But that's really it. But what we do find ourselves doing is just going through and trying to click through on as many of the circles as we can, because as we all know, these circle elements inside of all the Paragon trees are active all of the time. If you activate and fill in the Paragon points into any of the circles, those are going to be active and stats added to your character all the time. The squares are ones that are only active if you activate the Paragon tree. So right here on the Executioner tree, all of these squares that I've clicked on here and that I've upgraded, they won't work unless if I activate the tree. So I'm typically having my my Treasure Hunter active, so I get just a little bit more rewards in the open world, because really you don't need a special Paragon tree. In the open world, it's easy enough so you could just go and get a little bit more rewards. Or PvP, I like to go with Gladiator because we can get a little bit of cheat death in there. So, what is going to come from this system? And we do have, as I said, a leak that kind of gives us some of this information, which I gave you a little bit of a quick sneak peek into earlier on this video. I don't know if you guys got to see that or not, but this one actually was on a Spanish-speaking video called Sainto Play channel that I had not been introduced prior to that, but this was on that channel, and I want to say, or I want to determine if I think this is real. So, with the new Paragon system update, the Paragon attribute system will also be revamped, okay? It will simplify operations and offer players a more customized options for configuring Paragon attributes and spending points. All right, this makes sense, right? Because as I was talking about, we have so much to choose from here. You know, we have 1,300 Paragon points to jump in and try and maneuver our way through 15 different trees. And if we think about maybe we're getting 7 Paragon trees per year, you know, we're just about up to having 23 Paragon trees. And then the year after that, we're going to have 30 Paragon trees. It's going to be just kind of overwhelming number when really you could only activate one at a time. And my thought process was that maybe we were going to actually be able to activate more than one at a time, have 2 or 3 activated, but it's a whole new system. It's just not a click of a button like that. So I don't think I was correct in that first thought that I had. Next, difficulty in Paragon levels will be adjusted to maintain character attributes. So this is saying that you're not going to be losing anything that you already have worked for, but there's going to be adjustments to the levels. The number of difficulty modes have been reduced from 15 to 4. So difficulty modes, what we're talking about here are these. We're talking about difficulties. So from 15 all the way to 4, which sounds crazy. Like we're already in Inferno 6. This is saying that we're going to have like normal, Hell 1, and Inferno 1. Actually, they said 4, right? So maybe it's normal, Hell 1, Hell 2, Hell 3. And then get rid of Hell 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I think that they're going to re-spec out the Hell difficulty so that there's not so many difficulties and instead there's just a handful of them? So if that would be the case, and if there's only 4 and we're 2 years in, that would mean that there's going to be 2 Hell difficulties per year. So if we go 2 years ahead, it would be normal, Hell 1, Hell 2, Hell 3. And then in 2 years, we'll have Hell 4, Hell 5 in 1 year, and then Hell 6 and Hell 7. So it would be up to Hell 7 in another 2 years' time, which means the combat rating is going to have to be adjusted for all these levels as well, and it's going to have to be a much wider combat rating. Because if we look over here, Hell 1's combat rating is 520. Hell 2 is 870. Very easy now in the game to jump those Paragon levels, but I'm assuming that the level Paragon requirements are going to be much broader, taking Paragon trees from having 15 down to only 4. It's going to have to be 3 to 4 times as large of a gap for Paragon levels than we're seeing before that. We'll see if that actually is a thing as well. The difficulty of Hell 1 through 5, 6, 7, 8 have been adjusted to Hell 1. Whoa. Okay, so all Hell difficulties, 1 through 8, are now going to be Hell 1. The difficulty of Inferno 1 through 3 is adjusted to Hell 2. And the difficulty of Inferno 1 through 6 has been adjusted to Hell 3. All right, that doesn't make sense because it's saying that 1 through 3 is Hell 2 and then 1 through 6 is Hell 3, which is overlap. So that is definitely not correct, but we have to look at the overall system that they're saying here, how they're going to be taking the whole bundles of these difficulties and condensing them into a smaller number of Hell difficulties. All right, that's number 1. So I guess the question is, do we think that that's actually going to happen? Do we think that there's going to be a condensing of those levels of difficulty inside of the game? But back to the Paragon trees, the maximum Paragon level has been reduced from 1,399 to 299. So essentially, we're going from 13 or 1,400 Paragon down to 300 Paragon, which raises a whole bunch of questions for me. If after 2 years we're only at Paragon level 300, how many Paragon levels are we going to gain per week? Right now we're gaining 10 per week, and every week we jump 10 levels. So if we're at 1,300 this week, we'll be 1,310 next week, 1,320 the week after that. But if the system is changing, and if now we're getting a smaller, if we're getting bumped down from saying here 1,399 to 299, are we only going to gain 2 or 3 Paragon levels per week? And are they going to be more difficult to get to? I guess we'll have to see. After adjustment, equipment and demonic items will be adjusted to the same attributes. So yeah, man, that means all of this stuff, all of our gear, everything that we're wearing, all the combat rating and stuff is going to have to be adjusted. Everything is going to have to change. All of our numbers and stuff, everything is going to have to change. They're going to essentially be, as we said, reworking the entire system on what everything actually looks like, which is quite interesting and honestly quite a task. We'll see, we'll see what that looks like. Kill Helliquary Evils on Hell 3 in a warband. Kill the Lord of Corruption on Hell 3 in a warband. Kill Demonic Sands on Hell 3 in a warband. Kill Mysterious Golem on Hell 3 in a warband. Kill the Winged Queen on Hell 3 in a warband. So, question is, one, warbands, they're still legit. They're still a thing. They're not going away. I know that a lot of people for years have been saying how they want warbands adjusted. Warbands have been adjusted over that time as well. It seems that it's still going to be important, but we're talking about the different Heliquary bosses right here. And I mean, let's just go run over there right now. And again, like I mentioned, a lot of this stuff was translated, or all of this was translated from Spanish, so you never know how that's going to turn out. But, you know, we have all of these Heliquary bosses and all of these difficulties as well. So all this stuff will be changing, and the bosses available at different stages will also change. If we're only having three or four difficulty levels, you're going to have more Heliquary bosses available at one particular difficulty level, which is actually a good thing for Heliquary. Essentially, you're going to be able to unlock more Heliquary bosses initially in the game. Hell 1 is going to have a lot more Heliquary bosses available for fighting than it does now, because you'd have to progress to the next Hell level before you can get any more unlocked. So, I mean, honestly, Paragon changes that they're talking about here implement a lot more than just Paragon changes. It seems, from what we're reading here, which again is not a Blizzard source, this is, I guess you can call it a leak. It's information that's out there. Could it have been completely made up? Yes, this could have been 100% fabricated and not true. But looking at it and saying, if it were true, do I think it could work inside of the game? Positive things that we could see here, they say up on top, a more simplistic Paragon tree system. As it is right now, I wouldn't say it's difficult, but it could be encumbering for a new player inside of the game. Is Blizzard trying to get more and more new players into the game? We know the answer to that is yes. Games are always trying to get new players to come and to try out the game. So, would it be wise for them to cut down on all the number of Paragon trees and make a more simplistic system that's a little bit more well-rounded and less scary for someone that's new coming to the game? Yeah, I don't think it's a bad idea, actually, and I think it could work. Depends on how it actually looks at the end of the day. Are us veteran players going to need to learn a new system, and does that kind of stink? Yeah, it kind of does, but you know what? If it's a more simplistic system, then maybe it's not that big a deal. Maybe we'll get more of a benefit from it than we do right now. And like I said, for someone that really just uses 2 or 3 of the Paragon trees, we find ourselves just spending points trying to dabble in and get as many circles as we can from the majority of trees that we want to. Again, the difficulty changes. I mean, is it encumbering and overwhelming for players to come in and see how many difficulty levels they have to jump to? It possibly could be. It very possibly could. That also is going to make it weird, right? For level 799. You know, when you're at 799, and then you want to get to the next 800 Paragon level. You want to unlock your stance positions inside of the game. And for a lot of times, some players are stuck at 799 because they don't know that they have to beat the Heliquary boss that's affiliated with that level. And that would then get them to 800. Lots of players I see getting stuck there because we want to unlock our stances, get 2 more weapons, get the stance option, and get 2 more legendary gems slotted into your stuff. It's a nice thing. How's that going to change as well? Because all of that's going to be reworked. I'm wondering if there's going to be some clunkiness in this switch. We're going to have a brand new class coming inside of the game, and assuming that the new Paragon system is coming at the same time, that's a lot of changes coming to Diablo Immortal in one update patch. Could it be a different timeline? It could be. I don't know that we've gotten an actual date for the Paragon system change, and if it is the same date that the new class is coming. Either way, this is a big update coming to Diablo Immortal. The Tempest, the new class, always a big deal. What we're seeing here is the Tempest class doesn't have as much hype as the Blood Knight. The Blood Knight was the first new class to Diablo in years, and it was coming to Diablo Immortal. Plus, Blood Knight just sounds really awesome, right? It sounds demonic and something that someone plays Diablo Immortal for, or Diablo for. Tempest, a little bit lighter, a little bit less exciting, but from what we were breaking down yesterday in the skills of the class, if you missed my skills video yesterday, go check it out. We really break down a bunch of the skills that the class has. It does look like a really fun one to play, and it's going to be one that I try out. But new Paragon system, maybe new difficulty levels from Hell to Inferno and all of that. What I'm curious about from all of you is, do you think that what we were looking at right here today, do you think that this is legit? Do you think it's completely falsified, or do you believe that there is some truth to this, but maybe just not fully fleshed out yet?